welcome, 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 welcome. This is a 10-week series that we are beginning on dealing with depression and anxiety. And I will be sharing with you things that I personally learned to help myself through those darker days many years ago. I will be coming from my personal perspective. I am not a medical doctor, psychiatrist, psychotherapist. I have a bachelor in psychology, far different though than a medical doctor. So I will not be in any way, shape, or form guiding you to go off of a medical plan that you have with your registered doctor, nor will I be guiding you to go off of any medications in this series. What we will be doing is teaching you tips that can complement any program that you may be on and that are able to be a benefit to you in potentially helping you to improve your balance of your moods, your feelings, your thoughts, and hence your behaviors and your actions. And we will even have a book that I will have you ordering so that you have it ready for next week. Yes, this is a 10-week series. It's a free class. I would look at it more like a free course on helping yourself, family, friends, clients, colleagues on some very helpful and effective tips that may potentially help you and your loved ones and anyone who you are guiding or coaching through life. And when I was going through this period of time, it didn't start until I was in my early 40s, around 42 years old. I'm now in my early 50s. So I had not experienced depression and anxiety before that. So for mine, it was circumstantial. A series of crises and traumas happened in a very short period of time, one after another. And there's only so much one human being can take, right? So although the symptoms can actually scare you, and potentially you can get into the mindset that this is now your new norm and you'll never get better. And since it lasted for quite a long time for me before I learned how to greatly improve and release the symptoms, it was very frightening. So I do want to come from that personal perspective, seeing that I'm not a medical doctor. However, I do give these training and these tips to my clients that are, of course, in a signed contract, recognizing that this is complementary to any other medical treatments that they may be on, and definitely not a replacement, and that you have to check with your doctor on any changes that you might be making, because I will not be diagnosing or professionally treating for any of these disorders in this course or series. Okay, so now that we have all of the very important disclaimer stuff done up front for the 10-week series, I do want you to get yourself a small little 1-inch thick binder from like the office supplies store, or these days you can get your office supplies online, and make a nice booklet for yourself on all the training that we're going to be giving you. I also would like you to order the book that I'm going to be suggesting to you. It's called, and if any of you have worked with me before, you might already have had this book suggested to you, and you might have just glanced over it and not really read it thoroughly or really used it as a textbook to change your life or someone else's life. And okay, the description updated and I'm on the meeting. Okay, awesome. And so if you've already ordered the book, but you haven't really thoroughly read it, then I encourage you to read it again. And this time with a mindset of what changes are you going to be able to implement in your life? Now, I'm one that I like to play on offense instead of defense. So I'd rather prevent something from happening than have to fix it after it already happened. So any of you who are not dealing with depression and anxiety, and you're here learning for either your family member or friends, clients, or colleagues, and you may have a professional healing practice or wellness center of your own, as I do have a lot of medical doctors, registered nurses, naturopathic doctors, and holistic care providers that come to our academy that are part of our courses. That's primarily our key client that works and studies, and students that study in our academy. And so, because I know I will be talking to a lot of you professionals during this 10-week series, then I would highly recommend that you even make sure that you really study this book so that you have ideas, but make sure that you're only going to be recommending things as whatever your actual credentials and licensing is, and making it very clear that you are not taking them off of any medical doctor's programs or treatments, and that this is only meant as complimentary, and that they should check with any medical providers first before making any changes. And also put that in writing. You can actually copy and paste the writing that's on the link that I have updated in the last probably hour, so that that's all there. Make sure that you put that disclaimer if you're going to give any tips at all on helping with the depression. And also, as you notice, the title of this class and this 10-week series is not that we're going to heal depression and anxiety. Notice it does not say that. And it does not say that for a very important reason, because that would be illegal to say that. So what you say instead, for instance, as mine says, dealing with depression and anxiety, ? That means I'm asking them a question. Are you dealing with this? And then it says that we're going to share some effective tips for helping with balancing mood and emotions and thoughts and behaviors. It means we're sharing helpful tips, and we're not saying we are going to give you the exact recipe to heal and that you can throw all the other advice out that has ever been given to you, or stop doing what you're currently doing right now that may be working to a certain degree or a very huge degree. So whatever you're doing right now that's helping you, or whatever your family member or friend or clients are doing that's helping them, you would never suggest for them to take themselves off of any of those treatments. The work that we're going to be doing together is the holistic and complementary work. And I believe in integrative medicine myself personally, and I've used this theory with my own personal self and my family, my most loved ones. Okay. So I look at that everyone is necessary. And I'm not from that mindset that only alternative and holistic is right. I don't think that way. I believe that integrative medicine is most important because we have everyone under the umbrella. We have the medical doctors, the naturopathic doctors, all the mainstream doctors, and then we've got the homeopathic providers after the naturopathic, and the chiropractors, which are mainstream in today's world. At one time, they were not mainstream many, many years ago, but now they are considered mainstream. And so some of the things that you might be providing in your wellness practice right now may or may not be considered mainstream, and maybe, possibly someday they will be. Of course, I can't make any promises. I'm not in charge of those decisions. However, know that the things we're going to be discussing worked really, really well for me, and they can work really well for others as well. So, of course, everybody has different results, and that's important. So just because one person had a particular result doesn't mean that another person is going to have the same exact result. So we can't promise any particular results from the training that we're giving you today or during this 10-week series. But what we can say is that it certainly won't hurt to try them, right? And I went and looked and scoured high and low over my 7-year stint of going through severe depression and anxiety, where up until the age of 42, I had none. And then I had too many situational, circumstantial things, too many deaths in the family, too many medical problems with family members, and a loss of a marriage, a divorce, a loss of a business partner, because it really wasn't the right partnership to begin with, either one of them were, and really on my journey of changing. And when so many things change so drastically, so quickly, all in a row, there's only so much one human being is able to really calibrate and rein in all at the same time. So it put me on my healing journey. And I'm very grateful for it now. I was not during the process. I learned how to become grateful, knowing that that was the most important thing to do in order to heal. But I can't necessarily say I felt 100% grateful during those days that were such a challenge. And so I am coming from that standpoint. And I would love to be able to say that at the end of these 10 weeks, some of you are able to come to me, whether you send me an email or get a hold of me via my website, or you text message me and let me know that you're seeing improvements either with yourself, a family member, a friend, and that you are grateful and glad that not only did you do this training, this 10-week course on my television show. I am a TV host for Win-Win Women Network, and that's the show that you're watching right now. It goes out into 195 nations around the world, and they have the interpreters and so on and so forth. So the biggest thing going on in the world today is mental health. And as I was praying and asking my spiritual counsel, my higher self, all my guardian angels and guides, and of course, my number one divine, when I was asking God, what would you like me to do with my television show? Because I have a platform where I can get a strong message out into the world, and I can affect change and make a positive impact in a lot of people's lives. And especially because many of my students and clients in our Academy of Divine Rich CEO are providers of some sort, are practitioners of some sort, and take care of people. And many of them sell different products and services for holistic wellness and for personal and business development. And in our academy, we do compassionate personal and business development, spiritual, personal, business development training. And we're coming from the standpoint that in our personal lives, when we become stronger and healthier and more balanced, and we're able to hold on and rein in and embody more love and faith instead of fear, and joy and gratitude, our thoughts are better, we stay more positive, and then our actions are better. And of course, it's our thoughts and our feelings that create our actions, and our actions create our outcomes. So when our thoughts and feelings are positive, then we do positive things. And oftentimes we can be our own worst enemy, where we decide to distract ourselves from the problem going on in our life. And we decide to focus on something else rather than what we really should be focusing on, which is our own personal self-care and our own family, taking care of our own family. And we might decide that we're mad at a particular other person or another business because they didn't do what we wanted them to do, or they didn't do it the way we wanted. And so sometimes we as human beings, if we're not really self-aware and we're not really consciously aware, we can decide to start focusing on some other thing that isn't nearly as important as your own self-care and your own best personal and business and career development, and just put anger or frustration or negative energy or time and energy. And we even sometimes can trick ourselves into thinking that we're being productive and we're chasing down this particular company for a refund on a product or a service that we bought, and we're all mad. And then we're posting, it's such not good energy to post something on social media saying that this company did A, B, and C to me, don't go to them, da, 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 da. I mean, there is a point where we want to kind of notify people to let them know that they could get hurt. But at the same time, we have to really think about, like, is that going to be happening again and again to other people? Or was that kind of an isolated incident with me particularly? And do some mindfulness around it, because what we put out into the world is what we get back. And if we're demanding refunds, do you know that if you have your own business, then there's going to be people demanding refunds from you, and if you're out there like gouging and asking for a big discount, then you know what's going to happen. Then people are going to be asking you for discounts. And even if you don't have your own business, maybe you sell other products, or maybe you're just having a garage sale and you're selling your vehicle, because a lot of us like to sell our vehicles privately before we go ahead and buy a new vehicle. And, if you're putting out there where you're being overly difficult and gouging for the last penny, or demanding a refund and being unreasonable because it really could be dealt with differently, you could just ask, is there any way that they could add this particular product or service on to make what you did purchase more likable to you? Or do you have to, can you afford to gift that? So I have my Amazon pile, and my new thing in the last 6 months is, instead of, if I order something and it doesn't fit and it doesn't work out for me or for our family, if it's a more small purchase, I'm sure if it was something humongous, we might think about that. But the more smaller purchases to medium-sized purchases, what we've decided to do is donate them. So we buy sweatpants, and then we bought them too big and now they don't fit, so we'll donate them. And always thinking about what energy we're putting out there. Now, here's why I'm talking about this. I have not gotten off topic at all. Some of you might think so. And the reason why we're talking about this is step number 1 for the tips I'm going to be sharing with you for helping with depression, anxiety, and really I'm going to talk about more helping with balancing moods, emotions, feelings, thoughts, and hence our behaviors and our actions, and then our outcomes in life. Okay, that's what we're really working on here. Because at the end of the day, we just all want to be embodying love and joy, and we want to be stable in our happiness. We want it to be our status quo, that at least 80 to 99% of the time we're content. Okay, we don't always have to be super happy, because that's also stressful to hold such a high emotion for a long period of time. So either if we're super sad or super stressful, it's intense emotions that we're dealing with. So although it's wonderful to express our feelings and our emotions, and we have every right to be sad when something happens that makes us sad, we have every right to be happy when something makes us happy. So we should allow ourselves to be happy and be sad. At the same time, our goal is to, the majority of the time, to maintain contentment. And studies have shown that the happiest people out there are basically 80% of the time content. And then there's 20% of the time where they're either happy or sad or somewhere in between emotionally, and being able to stabilize those. Now, because our academy attracts mostly divine women, we do want to be talking, and this network that I'm on as a TV host for Win-Win Women Network is a woman's show. So as a woman's show, I'm going to say that hormones definitely don't do us any favors. And if you want to show your screen and you want to be on with me in your visual, feel free to do that too. So you don't have to keep your screen off. I know at the moment, everybody has their screen off. It's not required to be in the show. I love interacting and making eye contact as well. So if you're able to come on with your screen visual, that would be great too. All right. So it's really important. Number one, we're going to dive into the tips here. And number one, some of you are going to say, oh my God, she's saying this one again, self-care. So when I dig into my 7-year journey of coming out of the severe depression and anxiety and being able to get up to a strong, nice, healthy balance. And that's what we're looking for, a healthy balance. I look at, and I'm going to talk about this because my spiritual counsel and the spiritual counsel of this Win-Win Women TV network show that I am on here has asked me to be really real with all of you. And so I'm going to explain a little bit about what it looks like for those of you who don't know or have never experienced it. And then for those of you who really do know, you're going to potentially relate to some of the things I'm saying. And I will be looking for some head nods or some thumbs up if you have either experienced some of these things yourself or a family member or a friend has. And so if you're able to interact, that's great as well. Now, the first thing is it's very hard to do self-care when you're going through these symptoms. In fact, it's like you don't even recognize yourself if you have been in a place where you used to be balanced. Now, some people have been dealing with these symptoms for the majority of their life or all of their life, so they may not have anything to compare it with. But other people are able to compare it with times where they were in a much higher, more healthier and balanced place, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically, because it does do a huge job on our physical health. It affects our physical health to have any kind of depression or anxiety. It's proven to cause more dental problems. I had to have a root canal during that period of time. I mean, disaster. And it causes a lot of imbalances with our systems, not just neurochemicals, but all the rest of our systems too. So you find it being super difficult to even take a shower every day or even a bath. Depending on where you're at, it might take you a week before you can force yourself to get into the shower. You find yourself having a hard time getting out of bed. All you want to do is sleep. You find yourself having a hard time even feeding yourself, and you don't even want to feed yourself. In fact, it's almost impossible to feed yourself, bathe yourself, and the only reason you get out of bed is to go to the bathroom. And then some people even will put a pad on, and if they wet their pants, they don't have to get out of bed. Okay, it can be really a frightening experience. And some people live with it on an ongoing basis and they manage it. And so these tips are really helpful for managing. For myself, I was able to come completely out of them. It was a journey, and I've been able to hold it now for over 5 years, really strong. And because I now have the skills and I have an understanding of what I did that allowed myself to fall into those places, I'm now able to catch myself if I notice anything. And I haven't really noticed anything in years, but I know in my mind that if I were to see any old symptoms popping back up, I would know what I would force myself to do, knowing that I don't want to drop too far down, because the further you drop down, the more scary and frightening it gets of whether you'll be able to catch yourself and pull yourself back up. So anybody who resonates with the things I'm talking about right now, give me a thumbs up, even if it's on your little icon screen, because there's a little thumbs up button that you can press on your icon screen. Okay. Also, it's really hard to even want to change your clothes. You might wear the same bra for 15 days in a row or 2 months in a row, and you don't even take your bra off. You don't want to take your socks off. Your skin is starting to get all dry and crumbly, and you're like, what in the world is going on? You might not do your facial care. Now your skin's getting all dry and flaky. You've got dark circles. You look like total crap. I know, because I did. And I was like, oh my God, here I am. I own a skincare and cosmetic company. I was absolutely freaked out by it. And when you're in those places, it is difficult for you to have the self-control to decide to feed yourself well today and cook a healthy meal for you. And your taste buds change, your palate changes. So what used to taste good to you before doesn't even taste good. Sometimes we don't even have any taste left. And so nothing, there's no enjoyment in eating food anymore. And then you lose the desire to do things that you used to enjoy doing before, that you used to want to do, and now you don't want to do it anymore. And usually the only thing that really keeps you focused and going is how much you love somebody else instead of yourself, because it's a huge self-love deficiency that you're going through. It doesn't mean you have to stay there forever. And I thoroughly believe that with integrative medicine, using everyone being able to work with a series of different things and make sure that you follow your doctor's protocol as your number one go-to, and then do a lot of the holistic and integrative and try the different things and see how they benefit you. Try something new and try 1 or 2 new things at a time. I recommend 1 major new thing at a time. However, there are times where it's like, no, I'm just going to do all 10 of these things. I don't care if I have to know which one is working. At this point, I just want something to work. So I'm going to do all 10, and we'll just keep doing them until we get strong. And then we'll play around with, and I'm talking about the holistic stuff. I never recommend to play around with any of your medical stuff. You have to talk to your doctor about that. But with all these other things that we're going to be talking about, trying with self-care and many others, you're going to, if you're getting to the point where you really want to know which one is working for you, then introduce one at a time. But initially I did like 10 or 15 new things when I finally decided, because there's a day where you decide, I'm going to win and I'm not going to quit. Okay. So if you're at that place right now where you have decided enough is enough, I'm not going to go through this misery anymore. I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to leave this world. I'm staying. And if I'm going to stay, I'm going to be happy. I'm not going to be miserable the rest of my life. And I realized that there was just as much work to try to maintain misery, because not going to work, not showing up, having a hard time paying your bills then, and not being able to go and act normal anywhere anymore. You don't even want to go out with your friends. And then if you finally drag yourself to go out with your friends, you're sitting there and you're in your own little world, in your own little fog, feeling like you don't even belong there. And that if they even knew what thoughts were running through your head, that they probably wouldn't even want to be your friend anymore. And you feel very isolated, even though you're sitting there with those people. So if anybody resonates with any of this, if they've ever experienced it, or they've had family or friends that have experienced it, or clients or colleagues, then hopefully just hearing this helps you to feel better, because you're like, okay, I'm not alone. I'm not the only one. This is actually something that happens to other people. And at the same time, I can tell you that for well over 5 years, I have never experienced these symptoms anymore. So hallelujah, yay. And I praise God for that. I do believe prayers work. I do believe that meditation works, setting your intentions works. And I highly, highly recommend it. So now that I've kind of explained what it feels like, for those of you that are either going through it right now, you've gone through it before, sometimes you ebb and flow, or you have family members that are dealing with it, or friends or clients of yours, now it's really real what we're talking about here. And, I'm going to say this, but there are some people that they've actually had a plan to hurt themselves, and maybe they've had one for a very, very long time, and they also can get through this. And again, I recommend everything: integrative medicine, medical, holistic, alternative, putting it all together. Okay, really just giving yourself everything that you possibly can, but making sure you check with your doctor first. I can't say that enough. Okay, because in this show, I'm not a medical doctor, so I won't be giving you how to handle it specifically for you, but we'll be sharing tips that helped me personally. And we're going to be going into an interactive in the next part of this show here. Also, we're doing a free gift for those of you who have shared our Facebook post 3 times. And also, if you send us a brand new client that purchases a course in our program, we're going to be giving you a $100 referral. Our enrollment is very high. We have new staff coming on board and to help us in order to continue growing the enrollment in our academy. And so some of you are probably even well aware that you might be one of the people that we have stepping into some new positions. So I'm very excited about that. Okay, so the self-care, the food, I'm going to say right now, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to make yourself eat a meal each day. I don't care at this point what it is. If you're not feeding yourself anymore and you're barely ever doing it, or you're not doing it very well, very good of a job, I'm going to ask you to step up introducing food. If you're not eating anything right now, then eat whatever you can figure out that you can get yourself to eat. Okay, so it's like, all right, well, you look at everything in your refrigerator, look at everything in your cupboards, think about anything you could possibly go buy or order and figure out something and then go get it and eat it. Okay. If you're already eating, but you're just eating really unhealthy, then what I'm going to ask you to do is to just integrate one healthy thing per day. And one of the easiest things to do is a healthy smoothie. And you can put your healthy protein powder in it that has all your vitamins, and you can put bananas and frozen strawberries and frozen blueberries and frozen spinach. And then if you have like a chocolate protein mix or a vanilla and you put that in, it makes it taste like chocolate. And so then you're like, okay, cool. Or it makes it taste like strawberry or vanilla. And so if you're not loving the taste of it with the natural fruits and vegetables, which I do, I love the natural fruits and vegetables, then put a flavored protein drink with vitamins in there too. So that's going to be step 1. Now, the book I want you to order is called Depression, the Mechanical Cause, How to Rewire Your Brain. And it's by Dr. John Bergman. And I will attach a link. This is the way the cover looks. It's got the black with the person walking on the earth. Depression, the Mechanical Cause, How to Rewire the Brain by Dr. John Bergman. Order this book. We're going to be working with it. That's your homework this week. And we will see you next week for week number 2. Now we're going to be switching off of the recording.